At the beginning of the movie, we hear the voice of Sam as he monologues about how the Earth found a new source of energy. He explains that there was a time when energy was considered a dirty word, as the world descended into hunger and decay. Years later, an organization discovered a way to utilize fusion energy and provided it to the public, helping the Earth heal and deserts bloom. In the present day, the Lunar Organization is able to provide clean-burning helium-3 to supply nearly 70% of the planet. Humanity never realized until now all the energy that they needed was simply trapped above their heads. In a highly automated mining station on the moon, Sam is the only employee located there, along with his robot companion Gertie, and is nearing the end of his work contract. While working the controls, Sam gets an alert that one of the helium tanks was full and was ready for transport. After getting into his car and finding the large mining machine, he retrieves the tank and prepares to send it home. After returning to the station, Sam sends a transmission to his wife and child, informing them of his return soon. Once he's done, he sets up all the tanks that he's accumulated and flies them out on a large drone to Earth. Later, Gertie gives Sam a haircut, who started to look a bit ragged. Once he's done, he starts working on the figurines that he'd been building, an activity that he developed over the last 3 lonely years. Suddenly, the computer announces that he'd received a message from his wife, and he's really excited to hear it. Tess, Sam's wife, starts by telling him that it was great to hear his voice, and that she really misses him. She then shows him his daughter Eve, who is now 3 years old. Tess tells her husband that she's proud of him and that she can't wait to see him soon before ending the recording. After getting to see his wife and child for a short but sweet moment, Sam sits in front of the TV and starts watching an old black and white movie. While getting a refill for his tea, Sam hallucinates a teenager sitting on his chair and accidentally burns his hand. Gertie helps him bandage his hand and questions him on what happened, and Sam lies and tells the robot that it was because he was distracted watching TV. The next morning, Sam is woken up by a loud alarm from an intimate dream that he was having about his wife. Although he's upset by the interruption, Sam continues with his usual routine. After doing his daily exercise, Sam sits down to have breakfast, and Gertie cheers him up by telling him that he only had 2 weeks to go home, and Sam excitedly agrees. Once finished with his morning routine, Sam gets back to work. He sits at the control center and he calls out code to transmit to Earth when suddenly the live recording glitches and makes him see a footage of him for a few seconds before reverting back to normal. Confused, Sam tries to check what's wrong, but he couldn't find anything. Thinking nothing of the incident, Sam returns back to work and sees a live signal being broadcasted. He wanted to check it out, so he dresses up in his suit and heads out, and when he gets to the large mining machine, Sam sees what looks like a silhouette of a person, which distracts him and he accidentally crashes into the mining wheel. When Sam awakens, he finds himself in the infirmary of the station while Gertie is looking after him. The robot explains that it would like to keep him there for a few days and run some checks before he can get back to his daily duties, then leaves him there to rest some more. Thinking of stretching his legs, Sam gets out of bed and finds Gertie communicating with Mission Control back on Earth. When he asks the robot who he was speaking to, Gertie explains that they were having some problems with the satellite and that their live feed seems to be done. Gertie had been recording a video message for Central, updating them on the astronauts' progress. Later, the robot runs extensive checks on Sam's brain function and informs him that he slowed down the speed of the harvesters so he could have more time to recuperate. Sam is annoyed by the constant tests and only wants to go back to work. Once he's done with his checkup, Sam goes to the control center to check on the harvesters and finds out that one of them was completely still. Gertie reports the phenomenon to Central, passing on Sam to request to go out and fix it. Although they acknowledge the problem, Mission Control strictly informs Sam to wait for backup and not to leave the station until a rescue team arrives. Sam is upset, feeling like he's being treated like a child, and causes a minor accident to one of the wires to convince Gertie to let him go outside and check the exterior of the station. Once he's allowed out, Sam drives to the accident site and checks out his damaged automobile. Inside, he finds a man that looks exactly like himself, passed out by the wheel. Shocked by the sight, Sam hurries back to the station and asks the robot who it was. Ignoring the question, Gertie tells him that they need to get the man inside the infirmary. When the man found in the crash awakens, Gertie addresses him as Sam as well and explains that he suffered from a small concussion but was otherwise fine. Looking up, he sees the clone of himself in confusion for a few seconds before passing out. Hours later, Sam gets out of bed and encounters his doppelganger jumping rope in the break room. Confused, he goes to the control center and asks Gertie who the person that looks exactly like him was, and avoiding the question yet again, the robot tells him that he was placed there to keep him safe and that it still hadn't informed Central that he was recovered alive. Wanting to get answers right from the horse's mouth, he goes to speak to the other Sam, and the older Sam asks his clone how long he's been around, and he tells him he's been there for only a week. Sam feels strange addressing his newer version and awkwardly asks how he was doing. New Sam sarcastically responds that he was fine and tells him that it was unnerving to speak to his clone, which the older Sam takes offense to. Later, the two Sams play ping pong, and the newer version gets grumpy when he's beaten by his older counterpart. Suddenly, a message recording comes from Earth informing them that a rescue team would be sent there in 14 hours. As the two discuss why Central was sending a rescue team, New Sam questions if there were other clones up there with them, and he's convinced that the company that they worked for had opted to secretly create clones instead of wasting time and resources to train new astronauts. New Sam starts searching every inch of the station in an attempt to find a secret compartment that he assumed housed clones. When he couldn't find anything, he asks older Sam to move away from his tiny models that he'd been building out of wood so he could look under them. When old Sam refuses, an altercation begins between the two clones where New Sam accidentally hurts his counterpart severely. After washing the blood from his face, old Sam confronts Gertie once again, who asks him if he remembered waking up in the infirmary after the crash when he had arrived at the base. When Sam confirms this, the robot continues to explain that there had never been a crash, instead it was just a new version of Sam being awakened. Gertie tells Sam that the memories that he has of his wife and child were actually implanted from the original Sam. When he hears this revelation, Sam's devastated and walks away to his room to stare at a picture of his wife. Older Sam seems like he's given up on the hopes of going back home to his family, and when he goes to the common area to get some food, he finds New Sam who asks to speak to him. But instead of giving him the time of day, older Sam opens music and starts dancing around the room. Angry by his clone's response, the new Sam throws the small radio away, and he then explains to his counterpart that he thinks that the satellites are found and that the Central was just jamming them on purpose so he wouldn't be able to contact Earth. Wanting to investigate this, the two clones head out to their respective automobiles in hopes of finding a clue. A long distance away from the station, they find a huge antenna that confirms New Sam's suspicions. While old Sam gets out of his car to get a better look, he feels a sudden pain in his abdomen and starts to puke up blood. Informing New Sam that he wasn't feeling too good, he returns to the base and hurries to the bathroom, where he continues to puke more blood. Sam feels his body slowly deteriorating, but is unable to explain why. Going up to the control room, he checks all the secret logs previous Sam had made and realizes that the same thing happened to all of them. At the end of each log, he sees each sickly clone go inside a chamber that he was told would send him home, and he goes there to see the equipment himself. Trying to see how it works, Sam closes the pod, and immediately a video comes up explaining that the chamber would put him to sleep for the duration of his journey home, and as soon as the video ends, a bright light shines in the pod as if an electric surge went through it. Confused, Sam investigates further and finds an opening that leads directly under the chamber. When New Sam arrives, the older Sam shows him what he found, and the two descend into an opening together. Inside, they find hundreds of small pods containing other clones of Sam. Disturbed by the sight, the older Sam hurries out of the huge room and out of the base after grabbing the equipment that he would need to communicate with Earth. When he gets to the part of the moon where he could re-establish the signal, he makes a call to his wife. Unexpectedly, his now grown-up daughter answers and tells him that Tess passed away a few years ago. Sam is devastated by the news and asks his daughter how his mom died. Feeling weird about the stranger asking so many questions, Eve calls out to her father and tells him that there was someone asking about their mom. Before the original Sam could appear on screen, the old Sam panics and shuts down the call. Sad by what was happening to him, Sam cries alone in the car. When Sam returns to the base, she shows him how to carve wooden models while telling him that the so-called rescue team wouldn't let them live if they found them together. As he speaks, Sam becomes weaker and almost falls before he's caught by the other clone and taken to his bed. While the older Sam gets some rest, the new Sam convinces Gertie to wake up another clone so that the rescue team doesn't kill them for figuring things out. Once he comes up with a plan, he tells old Sam to drive him up to the crash site and leaves him in the malfunctioned car because it was mandatory that they thought that he was dead. He tells old Sam that he would be going with him to the drone ship that carries the helium tanks. Although old Sam wanted nothing more than to see Eve, he knows that he isn't going to be able to make the trip to Earth, so he offers to be the one that stayed in the crashed car while new Sam traveled home. Old Sam makes a joke about how he always had wanted to travel and asks his clone to live out his dreams for him. Agreeing to the plan, the two Sams drive out to the crash site and leave the severely sick man in the car, letting him die in peace. Rushing back to the base, Sam makes sure to set Gertie's memory to reboot the moment the ship had launched from base, a plan that even the robot had agreed with. As he gets ready for launch, he hears the computer announce that it would be 8 minutes until the arrival of the rescue team. Realizing that he didn't have any time to waste, he locks himself in the pod and launches himself to Earth. As the movie ends, we see Sam inside the ship, approaching the Earth's atmosphere at a very high speed, finally going home.